got from April. I think I made the mistake of looking at the news before I came to this evening's meeting, and a lot of the news that you hear is not very good. You hear about Iran, Iraq, you hear about Hezbollah and Israel lobbing missiles back and forth in the news recently. These are, a lot of people don't like to listen to the news, but these are important questions. Important questions that the world, that the United States has to address by appeasement, by inducements, by sanctions, by war. What should the approach be? Iran, for example, a country in the axis of evil. What do I know about Iran? I don't personally know a whole lot about Iran, but I think we are concerned today, as many nations are around the world, about Iran's expressed intentions to develop nuclear weapons, about their obstruction of the Arab-Israeli peace talks, about their support of terrorism, and internally about an abysmal record of human rights abuse. The Foreign Policy Association describes Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, as a, and this is kind of from the perspective of the people of Iran, as he's a son of a blacksmith, and he's, excuse me, he's a religious conservative, and as a man of the people, he has geared his appeal to the poor who are concerned about unemployment, about inflation, and about getting a fair share of Iran's oil bounty. I think we can all relate to those kinds of concerns. However, on a global scale, on a worldwide scale, we are familiar with Ahmadinejad as a man with a bellicose contempt for Israel when he told a group of students that Israel should be wiped off the map. Of course, this gathered a response from former Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, that if he were re-elected, and this is kind of a campaign slogan now, if he were re-elected, he would strike Iran's nuclear installations, which many Israelis feel would be aimed at them. Ahmadinejad's worldview, if you can call it that, is very destabilizing, is very inflammatory, and headed towards immediate, imminent confrontation. At home, Ahmadinejad has opposition as well. The people of Iran are concerned about as well as his fellow conservatives, are concerned about where he's taking the country, both at home and abroad. His cabinet appointments have been individuals with little experience. The Iranian Parliament has rejected some of his appointments as unqualified. Ahmadinejad has failed to compromise on many occasions, and the Parliament is very concerned about his lack of cooperation and consultation. The peoples of the world often suffer at the hands of their leaders. The people of Iran elected Ahmadinejad, let the people of Iran remove him from office. But as I researched this paper here, I found that the Iranian style of government is really not a democracy as we know it. It's controlled by the Guardian Council. And the Guardian Council is a body of 12 unelected Muslim clerics who decide who can and who cannot run for office. And many fear that the aim of the Guardian Council is to purge the legislature, the press, and the government as a whole of political rivals seeking democratic reform. What should the American response be? Well, the Iranian people are considered to be among some of the most pro-American people in the Middle East. Now, I don't know whether that's very reassuring or not, but it is a fact. And the Iranian people as a whole want to improve relations with the United States. So it's an opportunity for us, I think, to take advantage of internal support to move the Iranian leaders closer to the negotiating table, or at least to keep them there. And I think that's something that we should certainly pursue. But it's a tough task. Exactly how do we go about it? One of the lessons of World War II is that appeasement in the face of willful and committed aggression is sheer folly. However, I think we have to ask if the course of appeasement is always one of folly, then as the historian John Declare notes, all concessions among enemies have to be distrusted, and politics and diplomacy become little more than continual warfare. In any debate, each side has its winning strategy. I feel sure on a good day, at least, that I could probably convince a room full of Iranians that the United States has long been committed to the destruction of Iran, that George Bush is a madman, and that they are in imminent danger of being attacked. However, diplomacy is not a process of winning the argument. It's a process in which the participants agree that the unthinkable is possible, and they seek ways to avert it. Robert McNamara notes that in a nuclear confrontation, there is no learning curve. We see Israel and Hezbollah lobbing missiles back and forth, and several hundred people have died. It's tragic. In a nuclear confrontation, the indefinite combination of nuclear weapons and human fallibility will mean that nations will be destroyed. And I think most of us realize that that means the civilized world as we know it. We must maintain a posture of strength. We must prepare for the unexpected. We must prepare for the worst, perhaps. However, at all costs, we need to fervently move towards diplomacy and keep the Iranians at the negotiating table with the aim that nuclear confrontation should not happen. Appease with caution. And as John Kennedy said, let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate.